I was offended by the fact that he really felt empowered to where he could try to determine my path. He can't put anything in my path that's going to stop me. The more, and so at that moment, the more he resisted, the more fuel it gave me to push right through.
To have once been a criminal is no disgrace. To remain a criminal is the disgrace. I formerly was a criminal. I formerly was in prison. I'm not ashamed of that.
And it's funny to me because his limited thinking, he thinks he won the war. It was just a battle. So when he started to figure that out, he figured, wait a minute, the enemy is still standing. What can I do to stop him from, I have to keep him below me. I have to oppress whatever he's trying to do to get back on his feet. And despite having full support from the judge who sentenced me and telling me, hey, out of the 3,000 inmates that I have sentenced over 50 years, you are at the top as far as somebody who have turned their life around.
Wow.
The DA didn't get the memo on that because all he did was every step of the way that I tried to progress, he tried to prevent my progress. And so I thought that he might take the opportunity to say, man, this guy went from, doing this when I prosecuted him to now doing this. And I had a heart-to-heart with him one time. When I was pursuing the certificate of rehabilitation, I had a lot of letters of recommendation and things of that nature. And his investigator at the time lived across the street from me. Wow. And so I put together my whole packet. I went over and talked to him. I said, look, I'm trying to get a certificate of rehabilitation and I wanted you to maybe review it. And if you think that I'm in the right direction and worthy of a recommendation for this certificate, would you sign the recommendation? And if you don't feel that, I'm worthy of it, just tell me what more would I need to do to earn your recommendation? And so he says, well, let me look it through and then I'll get back to you. This is a man who's been in law enforcement for probably 40 years. And so the next morning, he had a full recommendation letter signed, in my mailbox. And so for me to get that from his own investigator was big, and he wasn't expecting that. And I said, it would just mean a lot to me to have your support because you investigated and prosecuted this case. You knew the person that I was, but now you have in front of you the person that I am today, which was the person that I was before I turned 21 or 22. And I said, and by the way, your investigator has given me a recommendation. And his eyes lit up and he says, you talked to Daryl? I said, yeah. And he said, and he signed it? I said, yeah. He says, let me talk to him. So I'm automatically thinking he's gonna go and just like throw shade and it's just like, it's all bad, but it's okay. I've already got the signature and I know, he's just gonna say, look, it is what it is, right? There's nothing political, it is what it is. So the next time I saw him, he says, I gotta be honest with you. And I talked to Daryl and he stands by it. And he says, that says a lot because he just wouldn't do it. And he hasn't done it for anyone. And he says, so maybe I've been looking at this whole situation with you biased because I know all the stuff that you've done. And maybe I need to just let go of some, and he slipped and said, maybe I need to let go of some personal feelings. And I said, if it's really hard for you and you're not there yet, just tell me what you would want me to do to get you there. And he says, well, I've never given that thought. And then he said, off the cuff, the big problem that he has is that I want to become a lawyer. And he says he doesn't think the people of the state of California would be best served if I became a lawyer. He said, without breaking his stride, if you wanted to become a plumber or something like that, I would fully support you.
Wow.
Wow. But stop for a second. That's deep because you got somebody listening right now today who's going through a similar situation. Maybe they're not trying to become a lawyer. Maybe they want to become a writer, author, a singer, a rapper, and they got somebody who's holding them back, somebody who's in a position to actually give them the boost or to open that door for them. But that person has some kind of hidden animosity or hidden ambitions, jealous ambitions to try to hold them back, deter them from being the best them. What would you say to that person?
Don't give up. In time, I was offended by the fact that he really felt empowered to where he could try to determine my path. He can't put anything in my path that's going to stop me. And so at that moment, the more he resisted, the more fuel it gave me to push right through him.
Oh, can you talk to the audience about some of the jobs you had, some of the businesses that you have had or that you currently have, and then also the education that you bossed up? Yeah, I said it, bossed up and took. Oh, let's go get it. Let them know about you a little bit, man. What you been doing?
So after I was released, I started working at a law firm and started out answering the telephone. I was totally fine with that. I was working like 6 or 7 days a week because once I got my freedom back, I could stay in that office all day. It didn't matter to me. Just let me make the money. And so the attorney that hired me that I was working with at the time, answering phones for, he advanced me like $1,500 to buy a bucket. I mean, it was a bucket too. It was like a dent on the driver's side door, couldn't really open it. I was, much slimmer at the time at 30 years old, so I could easily climb over the passenger seat or whatnot. The frustration was going through a toll, trying to roll down the window on the left side to get the money out to the toll booth. But my window wouldn't roll down, so I had to stick, the money up through the pop-up sunroof kind of situation. That's okay because I just needed an A to B car. I just needed to get from the bed to work and back. That's it. I wasn't trying to get out and show or nothing like that. Just get me back and forth. And so after paying him off and working, I realized that in order to really push forward, I needed more money and I needed more responsibility. And so there was a gentleman in the office who was probably making the most money because he was responsible for meeting with clients and collecting retainers and stuff like that. And he had contemplated leaving. So I'm like, why don't you train me for your position? So he said, okay, you could shadow me. So I shadowed him on a few situations, learn what he does. Okay, so I'm going to incorporate that into what I do, answering the phones type of situation. So when he left, I went to the lawyer and was like, look, I want to take over that role. And then it went from there to also running the office. So it went from answering the telephones at minimum wage in a span of maybe a couple of years to running the office and taking care of everything. And my money was very fluid then. It was $7,500 to $10,000 a month because I was doing so much. All of the roles that had been eliminated, I incorporated everything that they did into my role. So it was a challenge to work 55 to 60 hours a week, then at the same time, further my education because I knew that I could not avoid it. I then had the money to pay for it. So I had to, while the money was there, go ahead and further my education and continue down that path. So it started in community college. I transferred from community college to St. Mary's, earned my undergrad degree in law studies. It was at that time that I really decided, okay, I want to think about law school. I didn't think that at the time that a person with a felony conviction could become a lawyer. And then I met a couple of people that actually were lawyers that had actually been to prison. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So you're telling me that you can go to prison and then you go to law school? And so that became my new plan. That became my new path because it didn't matter what they did to get it. All I needed to hear that they could get it. And the fact that they did get it just told me there's nothing that's going to stop me. So that was my path. And so I started in law school in 2010. I graduated from law school, took the bar exam, passed the bar exam, and I was going through the moral character process. And here comes the DA throwing in those hurdles. And he was very active in convincing the state bar not to approve my moral character, which they eventually rejected. And so I had to fight for about 4 years to get them to, give me the green light on moral character. And they wouldn't do it.
And this is before you went in further education even more, right? This is prior to going back.
Right.
Wow.
I was done with law school. I had passed the state bar. I was at the finish line. I ran the race.
Right.
They stopped me at the finish line. This was not, I completed law school and I was getting ready to take the state bar exam. I had passed the state bar exam. I was ready to cross the finish line. And just imagine running a marathon from 1998 to 2014 or 15. And then you get right up there and they stop you at the finish line. And they say, you got to prove to us that you're fit to cross it. Wow. I've just ran the race. I followed all the rules. I've done everything right. Full restitution recommendations from everybody under the sun. And you're stopping me at the finish line. I did more community service, volunteering my time, doing more work, went back to school. I earned a Master of the Law degree from a different institution. I knocked that out in a year. It was like a 2 to 3 year program. I was just so focused that I knocked that out. And I was waiting for additional time to go by. But the problem is that the state bar pass had an expiration date, 5 years. So I passed it in 14, 19 was coming up. So I resubmitted my package probably in 2018 or something like that. And so they said that they need between 6 to 9 months to make the determination. I guess that was just for normal people, because a year later, they still hadn't said anything. So I was like, okay, well, my bar pass is about to expire and I don't want to have to take the bar exam again. Right. But I think mentally, I was prepared for war. So all the materials, everything that I had used to study for the bar before was still in my closet. It didn't take nothing but me to go in there, dust some of it off, and all the study material, everything, outlines, everything was right there in boxes. So the bar pass expired. Then they were like, well, don't worry about it. If we give you a green light, you can just ask for an exemption. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So it came down to it that the bar, they wouldn't admit me. And so I went to the next level, which is a committee level, and you got to take the exam again. You've got to be kidding me.
And what's the statistics, if you know, on people passing that bar the first time or even the second time and taking it? I guess I would say the first time. Is there any numbers on that?
They have percentages on the state bar's website dating back probably 50 years. On average, the pass rate is like 30 or 40%. So
you up against taking a bar again at a 30, 40% success rate. This shows people right here determination, people. I want y'all to understand this. The man done explained to you that he was been getting beat upside his head by the DA. He'd been having a tough time with the bar. I mean, he had to go through all these hoops. Here you go, he done got degrees on top of secondary degrees. And here you go again with another hurdle. Finish up, man. What happened, man?
So I took it again and I passed I got my pass notice in December. Sworn in January.
I was there.
Yeah, all right. You remember. So I was sworn in and everything has just really been, it's really been a blessing. It's funny how the world, goes around. His boss was part of the reason why they were fighting the certificate of rehabilitation. He gave him marching orders and all of that. Well, his boss, the elected DA, became the Fandango kid. He was using campaign money to finance trips to department stores with staffs, all kind of stuff. And the problem for him is that they have to account. And so the question is on your campaign accounting disclosures, have you borrowed any money from your campaign? He wrote no. Every time he submitted his quarterlies or whatever, he wrote no, he did not borrow any money. And then all of a sudden, he became his own treasurer, you know, and, you know, things just, things went in different direction. The short of it is, he refused to leave office. The attorney general came in and charged him with 14 felonies. He walked in, pled guilty on 1 or 2 counts and resigned and was disbarred, and he's gone.
Let me go a little further. You know, I remember riding to Jamestown with you on several occasions, you and I, an hour and a half, 2-hour ride, I think, up, and probably about the same back. And you had told me, like, man, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna pass this, I'm gonna try it. But man, I already knew, man, you my dude. I had full faith in you. And sometimes I think other people can see some things and you know, you're not able to see it. You know, anybody, not just you, anybody. And I was so excited when you told me you passed, and you invited me to being sworn in, and to see you standing there, you know, in that room, well on the TV, and you know, COVID, and to see you take the oath, man, it was really it was motivating for me, because you know, when I was going to community college, and I would say, hey Ray, I think I'm about to get this AA degree. You be like, man, how many? I said, I 3 certificate of achievements. I got 5 associate degrees. You say, hey man, that's cool, bro, but you got to get that BA, bro. And I was like, I don't know if I could do it. You say, man, you can do it. And you motivated me to go back. And it took me 19 years to finally get an associate degree, right? But I got my BA in a year and a little bit over, like under a year and a half or something like that. And so I really thank you for motivating me to go back and get that BA, bro. I appreciate it. And
I mentioned that to the graduates on Friday. I said, one of the proudest moments, I said, you know, it's not like a child or a brother or what. I said, but you got to understand, when I know where he's come from, when he sent me that picture in his graduation, I knew that the AA history was behind him. Okay. And I said, I just know how he feels. He doesn't even have to describe to me how he feels. I know that feeling, and I welcome him to that. You know, I was really glad for you.
I appreciate it, bro. Like I said, you know, you gave me some great information. You know, sometimes you don't even think about things. You just, in my book, From the Bottoms to the Top, y'all go buy that book, matter of fact, From the Bottoms to the Top. I got a chapter that say, get off the fucking treadmill. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, like you said earlier, you know, people who, when I went to jail, when I got incarcerated, they were at this level. I'm gone for close to 3.5 years. I come back, they still at that level, maybe even lower. And then over the years since I've been home, I've been, boom, getting degrees, houses, all these different things. And my man and them, they still standing here. And so
they'll standing still.
Man.
There's that stop sign or that park bench that's just gonna stay right there. That, you know, your initials, I was here, you know, when you was a kid. That's what they're doing.
That's deep, bro. That's deep. Look, I got another question for you. My last one before I let you go. And it's for you at an earlier age, right? I want to know, if you had a chance to talk to the 16-year-old Ray, what piece of advice would you give him with the mentality you have today? What would you tell 16-year-old Ray?
Fast money is not always good money.
Good.
That's what I would say. When you go get fast money, if it's legit and it comes fast, by all means, I'm all for it. But if I had to go back to 16 years old, I would just tell myself, work hard, follow the rules, and whatever money that I could put to the side for real estate, just do it. Just because you think that hitting a lick, you have 20,000 or 50,000 or whatever, you could fan it out on your Facebook or whatnot. As fast as money comes like that, the money can go. So that would be what I would tell the 16-year-old Ray. It's funny how when Piper comes for payment, how they always catch you at a bad time. You start thinking about when all of a sudden you got to use the public defender, right? And they don't even know your name and the file is right in front of them. And you thinking, man, I went through 100,000. I went, did this. You should have a lawyer on retainer standing right there by your side if things go bad, right? So many people don't do that.
That's good, man. That's good. Y'all listen up. Listen up out there, youngsters. listen up. I went through it myself. I sold dope. I played with them pistols out in these streets in Oakland, and I can tell you it's nothing in it. At the end, I mean, I broke in prison, away from your family, making them spend money to come visit you. I mean, I went from Quentin to the hot deserts, way the hell out there by Reno somewhere, and then over to Jamestown. My family driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to visit me, phone calls. I mean, come on, man, it's ridiculous. So listen to Ray. I agree with him. Ray, so listen, you have a lot of things going on, man, and I know somebody may want to contact you. I'm gonna tell them just reach out to me. Hit me at Iusedtobeacriminal at gmail.com, and I can definitely get you in contact with Ray. Ray, once again, tell them some of the things that you do professionally. I know right now you're working on a case for me. As far as I know, I'm the client, so I can say it. I know you're not the privilege to talk about that.
Right, right.
He's doing a probate case for me on some property that mama left, and I had to get some things done. And he came in. He's taking care of it for me. But tell him, what do you do, Ray?
Well, right now, I practice law as well as I'm a real estate broker. So I balance the two lives. If I'm not working on a court case, I'm working on selling property for a client or acquiring property for a client. And so I balance the two. The good thing about real estate is when you get a check, it's usually a sizable check. And so what it allows me to do is to keep all the bills paid and enjoy life. And then I can practice law and help people that are modest means to no means. And so because my bills don't depend primarily on what I make in the legal profession, then I'm able to work for people and help people at a reduced rate, which it's fulfilling to me. I mean, it's something that I always wanted to be in a position to do. And so now I'm in a position to do that. I went to court this morning, this surreal moment. An attorney at the last minute needed someone to cover a preliminary hearing court appearance for her to put it over a week. And I went back to the courthouse and it was in the court, and it turned out to be in the courtroom that I was last in back in the 90s. And I can't describe the feeling of walking in there in that courtroom as an attorney versus walking in there shackled.
Well, look, bro, once again, I'm gonna tell the audience, listen, if you want to contact Ray, reach out to me, hit me at Iusedtobeacriminal at gmail.com, and I'll get you in contact with Ray, and you guys can talk. And once again, thank you for taking the time out to speak to my audience.
All right, man, be safe.
All right, you too, Ray.
All right.